Hi everyone, good morning. I hope you're able to hear me. So able to see my screen? Can you
Yeah,
please
boss.
confirm?
Yeah, boss.
Perfect. So as part of the demo that we discussed, what we discussed is how exactly the traditional ETL was there and traditional ETL, how we used to process the data that we came across it. In traditional ETL, like when you have a SSIS, how we used to do data processing with the SSIS, we came across it. And later Hadoop came into the market, and Hadoop, how it was evolved to process your big data that we came across it. And later, in place of the Hadoop MapReduce, we have a Spark. And I did not talk about more in detail about the Spark, but in place of MapReduce, we can replace with the Spark that we came across it. And then Azure Data Engineering Services came into the picture in order to process it. Like we have a Azure Data Factory and Azure Databricks. So how exactly these services are evolved to process your data from data to big data that we discussed in the first session. Okay, so from today onwards, I'm going to talk about the actual sessions that I'm going to talk. So initially, let me talk about the basics of cloud computing. I mean to say why we need to go for cloud. We're already having on-prem systems. Hadoop is there, and Informatica or SSIS. There are many services or many on-prem systems are available, but still, why we need to go for cloud? So that I'm just going to give an example so that you can understand how exactly it is going to be there. So for example, if I wanted to run a restaurant, if I wanted to start a restaurant or a business or hotel, anything, you can take an example. If I wanted to have my own premises, if I need to have my own premises, so that means my own building, my own infrastructure, everything that I wanted to have with my own. So in that case, how exactly it is going to be happen? You just imagine I have a 10 lakhs a budget. I'm having it to start a restaurant. So for building, I need to build a house. I need to build a building. Then only I can start a restaurant because I wanted to have my own building. So it's a one-time investment, but I need to spend a lot of amount for setting up this building. And it may take a time also. Furniture is required. For furniture, just imagine for 1 lakh, something like that. And manpower, furniture is also going to be one-time job, one-time activity, but maybe again, there may be changes is going to be happen. So in order to do all these things, we need to have a manpower. Just imagine manpower is not at one shot, it is going to be repeated stuff. Every month we need to pay it. Every month we need to pay something like a salary. And electricity power is required. Without electricity power, we cannot have a building. I mean to say we cannot start anything. And security is required. The security is going to be physical security, mostly for us in this particular place. And material is required. So in our material means your for restaurant material or food items we required. So this is also going to be every month is going to be there. It is a repeated stuff. And cooling system is required. In order to provide the cooling for the entire building, we required all these things. So A to Z, you need to be taken care from your side. Okay, so within your premises, your own premises, that we can call it as a on-prem. So whatever is there in your premises, within your control, that we can call it as a on-prem systems. Okay, so the same thing you can apply for your software also. Okay, so if you have your own data centers, if you have your own systems, everything in your premises, so no one can touch that. So that kind of systems we can call it as an on-prem. But in order to do this, you need to spend a lot of amount. Okay, so this is going to be like we need to spend a lot of amount. But when it comes to the cloud computing, how exactly it is going to be there? Let me talk about it. The same example. I wanted to start the business. I wanted to start the restaurant. I don't need to have my own building. I can go for renting. If I take all of them as a renting services, then the price will be very less. Okay, so building cost rent, it is going to be 10K, just imagine. So it's every month you are going to do it. Every month you're going to pay. It's not a one-time investment. And if the business is not succeeded, then you can vacate it. But when it comes to here on-prem, everything that you have to set up, and if your business is failed, then you're going to lose it. And furniture is not required because the building, the persons who are giving a renting to you, so those people are taking care about it. So we don't need to worry about the furniture. And manpower is required for you, and electricity power, every month you need to pay a bill, right? So electricity bill, you need to take care about it. So security, this is also monthly cost. It is, you're going to pay monthly. And material is required, even in this case also, material is required. And cooling system is not required because this is also going to come with the building itself. So whenever you're going to take from someone else, if you're taking a services from someone else, that we can call it as a renting, right? Like if I wanted to stay in Hyderabad, I don't need to buy a house. I can take a rent, or I can stay in a hotel. So once my work is completed, then I can come out of it. I can vacate it. So if something is there with someone else premises, that we can call it as a cloud computing. So whatever the services that I wanted to take to provide a solution for my big data, I can take as services. Once I have done my process, then I can return to them. I can give it back them, so that the price will be less. So two terms that I wanted to talk about here is what is on-prem and what is cloud. So on-prem means whatever is there in your premises. Whatever is there in your premises is known as on-prem systems or on-prem. Whatever is there with someone else premises is known as okay. So that is a cloud. I hope you are with me. Now I wanted to take the services. Now I understand why we need to go for cloud, because we can reduce the cost like anything. Okay, and there are some services, or I feel there are many services which are not available in the cloud platform. Which are not available in the on-premises. For an example, Azure Data Factory is not available. Glue is not available. Okay, so Databricks is not available in the on-prem. So these are all going to be cloud services only. They're not providing those services in the on-prem systems. But whatever is there in the on-prem, that you can have it in the cloud also. Okay, so let's say, for example, I have a data, because we are going to work as a data engineers. When you have a data, then we need to process this data. If I wanted to process this data, I need to have some services. So I don't want to go with the on-prem, because on-prem is going to be too heavy cost, and setting up the cluster, because a distribution processing is going to be happen. I'll talk about what is a distributed processing. For time being, just imagine my on-prem systems are not capable enough to store the data, or my on-prem systems are not capable to process the data also. So if that is the case, then I need to go to the cloud. So the benefits of the cloud is we can just go and plug and play. We don't need to set up anything much. We don't need to worry about infrastructure, or we don't need to worry about the a cooling system. So everything that will be taken care by cloud providers. So there are many cloud providers are available. Before saying that the cloud providers, I wanted to say how many different types of cloud deployment models in the market. Cloud deployment models. So there are three different types of cloud deployment models. One is public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. Three deployment models are available. So what we can do with the public cloud, or who is going to coming under the public cloud? Just try to understand diagrammatically so that you can get better clarity about it. For example, I wanted to take the services to provide a solution for my problem. That problem may be infrastructure problem. That problem may be a data processing problem, or that problem may be a data storage problem. So whatever it is, if I wanted to provide a solution for my problem and what it is going to get from the public cloud that I wanted to talk. So I wanted to take I'm just taking some reference. Okay. So now what I wanted to do here is I have an individual person here and I have a companies also. Okay, so individual person, company B and company A. Company B wants to take the services. Company B wants to take the services. They can take the services from here. As an individual, I can also take the services from here. And company A also can take the services from here. So everyone can take the services from the cloud platform. If everyone is able to take the services from the cloud, so that cloud, we can call it as a public cloud. That cloud, we can call it as a public cloud. Because everyone is possible to take the service from there. So that is what I'm just saying. If cloud provider allows you to take services by an individual or by any company is known as public cloud. You understand my point, right? What I'm trying to explain here. Is everyone clear? Why we need to go for public cloud? Okay, so how can we say that is a public cloud is if they're providing services for every individual or any individual or any company. So just logging into that particular place and taking the services, that we can call it as a public cloud. Okay, so most of our, whatever the services that we are going to talk data engineering services, most of the data engineering services are available in the cloud platforms only. Most of the data engineering services. Okay, so public clouds, who is there? So we have a public cloud like Microsoft Azure is a public cloud. AWS is a public cloud. GCP is a public cloud. Okay, so there is a IBM Cloud also. Okay, not much famous, but we have a IBM Cloud. There are many cloud providers are Alibaba. So in China, it is famous. Okay, so in our case, the topmost cloud providers is these three. Okay, these three. Everyone will say, this person also will say, I'm the top one. This one also, I'm the top one. This one also says, I'm the top one. But they are in top positions in some areas. Okay, so in all the areas, no one is in the top. So Azure is a top one position for data engineering services. Azure is a top one position in the data engineering services. And AWS is in top one position in the infrastructure side. Okay, so they're all having their own strategies to play the business. Okay, so they will provide the services to every company and individual. So because of that reason, we are calling them as a public cloud providers. Okay, so example, I'm just going to give Microsoft Azure, AWS, GCP, Alibaba, IBM Cloud. So something like this, we have a fee providers and they're going to provide the services to anyone. Apart from that, public cloud, apart from that, we have a private cloud providers also. So before public cloud into the market, there was private cloud. But usage of the private cloud is less.
Bhaskar, in public cloud, like
Mhm.
only the virtual machine will be the shared one. So we are calling it public cloud, or every services will be.
Every service, whatever you're taking from these providers, that may be in the form of infrastructure, that may be in the form of just platform, everything will be treated as a cloud. You got my point, right?
Yeah, means shared across every person.
Yes.
Okay.
So private cloud, what happened is, let me take this. Now, if you take this as an example, here they are not going to give any services to any individual. So private cloud providers will not give any services to any individual. They're always going to give to the companies only. They're always going to give to the organizations. So that kind of cloud, we can call it as a private cloud. If you take an individual, then that service we can call it as a public cloud. And if the cloud provider allows you to take only by a company. So they're going to give to the specific companies only. I mean to say, I'll give an example so that you can get some better clarity about it. Let's say, for example, I have some private cloud provider. So later we got this public cloud and all, but before that we have a private cloud. So what these people is going to do is they're going to have a cooling system. They're going to have a simply data centers. In public cloud also, they're going to have a data centers. The only difference is these persons will give only to the organizations. They're going to tie up with the companies. Let's say I have my own company. company B. I wanted to take the services. I consulted one service-based company. Let's take an example, TCS or Wipro or any company can take an example for service-based. If they have their own data center, they will give. Okay, so if they don't have it, there were some providers. Okay, so you can take it from there. And what these people will say is, let's take an example, TCS have their own data center. You just imagine. And if this company B is not having much more budget to have their own premises or own platform, based on the budget, based on the requirement, the solution providers are going to give a solution to this company. Okay, so if they're not in a position to have their own infrastructure, then they will suggest to take it from them only, because they have a data center. So they will give the data center. I mean to say, they will give a platform in the form of virtual machines. Most of you maybe work with the virtual machines. So virtual machines are there in the cloud platform also. Okay, so the only difference is both are more or less same. The only thing, when you take this private cloud, they're not having many services by their own. Okay, so they have a data center. If this person is required Oracle, they will set up the Oracle in the virtual machine and they will hand over it. And if this person is required SAP, they will set up the SAP in the virtual machine and they will hand over this virtual machine to this person's. Okay, so there, whatever the software that these people are required, they're going to set up and give it to you. Okay, so if they need a data factory, then they cannot give it, because data factory is not at all available in the private cloud. It's not a EXE. You have to take it from the Microsoft only. I mean to say, you have to take it from the cloud only. That too from Microsoft Azure. Okay, so in this kind of platforms, we can call it as a private cloud. Okay, so some data, like, if you feel I have a very sensitive data, I'm not interested to store with the public cloud, like Aadhaar card numbers, PAN card numbers, SSN numbers. So some sensitive data, if you're not interested to store in the public cloud, then we can go and keep it in a private cloud. Or I'm not interested to go with the public cloud. My solution, I wanted to have my solution with only out of the public cloud. Then 100% they have to go to the private cloud only. So private cloud also is available in the even now. The only difference is there will be very less projects with the private cloud. And run and maintenance of the private cloud is little difficult. I mean to say, the cost. Let's say, for example, you have taken some compute from this TCS. That compute, whether you use it or not, you have to pay license. So maybe you're going to pay per year wise, you're going to have a service level agreement. And even Oracle or anything, any services that is going to be used to process it. Let's say, for example, you're having Hadoop. The cluster, whatever the cluster size that you have taken from this persons, you have to pay whether you use it or not. So that kind of problems are there. The price will be very huge when you compare with the public cloud. So because of that reason, people are much more interested to move towards to the cloud platform, because we can reduce the cost like anything. Because there is a pay as you go model. Pay as you go means whatever you use it, you're going to pay. If I use for 1 hour, you can pay for 1 hour only. But when you go for private cloud, you have to pay for year-wise payments that you have to do it. So that is a private cloud. So this is more enough. We don't need to go more in detail of this, because we are not going to be handle this. We're always going to do the data processing. So that is important for us. And then there is one more cloud we have. That is hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud means, like, first understand the concept, why we need to go for hybrid cloud. Then you can understand the definition. Okay. So there are companies only I'm having. Just imagine. I have a companies only, but some services I'm going to take it from the private cloud, and some services I'm going to take it from the public cloud. Okay, so let's say, for example, I don't have a much more budget. So everything depends on the budget. They're going to provide the solution by the solution providers. Okay, so depends on the budget. The architects are going to suggest which services we can go with the public cloud and which services we can go with the private cloud. If you have a sensitive data, that you can keep it in a private cloud. And whatever you feel that you can take it from the public cloud, then you can take that from the public cloud. So that means you are consuming the services from the both of them. So fee services you're taking from the private cloud, and fee services you're taking it from the public cloud. So that kind of providers, we can call it as a hybrid cloud, or we don't have a hybrid cloud existed in the market. Okay, so you have to take it from the two providers. If you take the services from the two providers, that kind of cloud, we can call it as a hybrid cloud. Okay, so I'm just going to write the definition for this. If you take the services from both private cloud and public cloud, then we can say it is hybrid cloud. Okay, so if the person is taking the services from both of the places, that kind of cloud platforms, we can call it as a hybrid cloud. Okay, so these are all the different types of cloud deployment models we're having it. Okay, so we talked about what is on-prem and what is cloud. And cloud deployment models we have seen. And apart from that, let's say, for example, I have decided to go with the public cloud only. Just imagine. I decided to go with the public cloud. And that we are going to talk about Azure. So Azure is a public cloud. Now, what public cloud is going to provide? What kind of services? Okay, so they're having many services. If you take any public cloud provider like your AWS or GCP or Microsoft Azure, they're having too many services. When you have too many services, if they keep all the services in one umbrella, then it is very difficult to identify them. So because of that reason, what these providers are doing is they're categorized all the services into different varieties of the services. Okay, so I'm just keeping in my mind Azure, I'm taking as a public cloud, and I'm just talking about it. Okay, so how Azure is providing, or how Azure categorize these services into different categories. Like we have a SaaS services. We have a SaaS services, and we have a PaaS services. And third, we have a IaaS services. So SaaS services means software as a services. SaaS services is one of the major services, even for Microsoft is getting more revenue. Okay, so SaaS services means software as service. Okay, so for example, from Microsoft, we can say Power BI service I'm saying, and Teams, Outlook. Okay, so SharePoint, Dynamic 365. So there are many services are there as a software as a services. Okay, so we are going to use them. Most of you may be aware of Teams, right? While working, ways to use the Teams to communicate, to store, to share. Many things we can do it from there. In the same way, Outlook also. Okay, so these services are going to be directly used by the customers. Of course, you also customer, when you're using a Teams means you're using it for communication. That means you're directly using that. You're not like you're not providing any solution with that. You're just using it. So that kind of services we can call it as a SaaS services. And we are not going to be part of SaaS services. We are not going to be part of the SaaS services. Just give me a minute. I'll take one of the diagram so that you can have a better idea about it. I'll give all those materials also to you. You will be having a access for them. So I'm just talking about here. We have a private cloud, public cloud. So companies also can take, an individual can take from there. Okay. So that I have a note. You can just go through that note. You can understand. Yeah. So cloud is going to provide a services in the form of like this. So before cloud, we have on-prem services. On-prem services means you're not going to have all the services like your cloud platform. So on-prem means everything that you have to take care. Right from the operating system, everything that you have to take it from your side. So that is your on-prem. Okay, so I told you by using cloud providers, we can get the varieties of the services, and one of the services is software as a services. So when you take a software as a service, if you take any service from the cloud provider, if you are going to take as a software as a service, then you're not going to do anything. So everything will be provided by cloud providers only. We don't need to worry about it. Okay, so that kind of services we can call it as a software as a services. So an example I have given, even Gmail also can take an example, or Office 365 as I said, and cloud storage from Microsoft, OneDrive. So that is also a software as a services. We can directly go and use it. And we are not going to be part of this. And the next services that we are going to have is platform as a services. So this is important for us. All the data engineering services are coming from this particular area from Microsoft Azure. Okay, so platform as a service. They will give a platform. You're not going to have a control on the operating system. No control on the operating system. No control on servers, storages, networking, virtualization. Everything will be taken care by this entire part will be taken care by Microsoft only. Then what you are going to do is you are going to provide the solution by using those platforms. So I wanted to process my big data. You can take the service from there and you can process it. So while creating Azure Data Factory, you can see we are not going to use any operating system. We cannot see that. We don't have any control on it. We're just going to provide some details and those details will be taken to set up the service. Okay, so when we see practically, you can understand, you can feel, okay, so this is what it is, a platform as a service. You can feel that. Or all our data engineering services are falling under the platform as a service. So Microsoft is providing a platform to you, and by using that platform, you are going to provide the solution for your big data. So that is about your platform as a service. Okay, so the price will be very less when you compare with on-prem systems. Okay, so I have given points here. This will be used by developers and it provides the platform and you have to do the development as per your requirement and offers development tools and development deployment tools to required for your development. No control on the infrastructure. We are not going to have any control on the infrastructure. No operating system is required for this. It is a cost efficiency because if you use for 1 hour, you are going to pay for 1 hour. You don't need to pay for entire 1 day. Okay, for example, I'm just taking Azure Data Factory to process my big data. If that process is taking 30 minutes to process, you're going to pay for only 30 minutes. You're not going to pay for other time. So no need to purchase expensive servers because everything will be taken care by themselves. And you can scale up and down, especially when you go for database. If I wanted to increase the compute or if you wanted to decrease the compute as and when required, then you can go for cloud platforms. So platform as a services is having a capability to increase or decrease the scalability. And all the softwares will be provided by, managed by your providers only. Let's take an example. If we take a SQL Server database presently, we are having 2022 version. SQL 2022 version is available. If there is any upgrade, they will take care upgrade. You don't need to upgrade it. If it is on-prem, you have to upgrade by yourself. So easy deployment services. In order to provide or in order to create the service, it is very easy. Okay, so everyone can do it. We don't need to have an administrator to set up this environment for your practice or educational purpose for anything. But if you have 100, let's say for example, I wanted to create 100 data factories. So creating one by one data factory with user interface is going to take longer time. So because of that reason, we have another feasibility. We can have a code and you can parameterize this code and you can submit it. All 100 data factories will be created accordingly based on your parameters, based on your configurations. So all this setup will be taken care by administrators. We are not going to be part of it. We are not going to be part of it. Okay, so we are going to consume this service as a developer. Okay, so how we can create this platform as a services? In our case, we are going to see practically so that you can get more clarity about it. And there is one more category of the services that we are having here is IaaS, infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure as a service. So what does it mean? Let's say, for example, I have a Hadoop in my on-prem. Okay, take an example. So let me give an example for PaaS. when we can go for PaaS services. Because in our case, we are going to see completely Azure Data Engineering services, right? So I just wanted to give some more details about it so that you can get little more clarity about it. For example, I have a project already existed in SSIS. So which is a Microsoft ETL service, SQL Server Integration Services. Okay, just imagine SSIS project. So it's an on-prem. Okay, it is an on-prem project. Now, Microsoft is encouraging to move towards to the cloud platform. So if that is the case, what ways to do is, I wanted to migrate. I'm just taking directly Microsoft Azure. So we can migrate your SSIS project into Microsoft Azure. There are many projects are existed. There are many projects are existed to convert from SSIS project to Microsoft Azure. So in Microsoft Azure, especially this is the data related project. When you have a data related project, what services are there here is we have a ADF, we have to use ADB, we have to use ADLS, and so on. Okay, I'm just giving some services only here. You can take it and you can bring the solution into the Microsoft Azure. So in order to convert or in order to migrate your SSIS project into Microsoft Azure, we have to redesign this. We have to redesign entire stuff. Whatever is there here, that we need to redesign. Okay, so for example, even in one of our student for last batch, he is working with the SSIS. Okay, he is working with the SSIS and he got an offer. He migrated towards to the Azure, and their project is to migrate their existing SSIS project into Microsoft Azure. So in order to migrate, whatever the logic they have used it here, that you need to redesign. You have to recreate with the different technologies. Logic is same. Logic is not going to change, but the tools are going to be changed. The tools are Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks, Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, and so on. So once you have migrated your on-prem project, you can decommission this and you can have the solution directly in the Microsoft Azure itself. So this kind of projects are there, many projects from the Microsoft specifically, because there are many projects are existed with SSIS. Okay, so they're going to stop support for SSIS. Once they stop supporting 100%, they have to move towards to the cloud, or they may go for little more license cost. So at any cost, Microsoft is going to bring them to the Azure. So this kind of projects are there in the market. And apart from that, in this place, if you wanted to redesign it, we are going to use PaaS services. So PaaS services are required. Apart from this, we have another set of projects also existed in the market. Informatica. So take an example, Informatica projects. So I'm just taking these two ETL tools, but there are many ETL tools are existed in order to migrate their ETL projects into Microsoft Azure. Even in this case also, you have to redesign your entire process into Microsoft Azure. You have to redesign it. You have to rebuild it. Apart from that, Even we are having this kind of projects also. Hadoop. So Hadoop project also we can migrate towards to the Microsoft Azure. The logic is already there with the same. This is also is a big data project only. This is not a big data project, and SSIS is not a big data. Of course, they have a massive volume of data, but they're taking longer time to process it. Okay, so let's say, for example, I have a Hadoop project. It is a distributed. It is a distributed storage and distributed processing. I don't have a problem. The problem is I'm not in a position to maintain the cluster. I'm not in a position to maintain the cluster. The cluster has to run 24/7. Otherwise, you cannot access the storage and you cannot process it. Even to access the storage, you required 24/7 running. So that I don't want to go for that. So I wanted to decouple. Okay, because the storage and process are tightly coupled with the cluster. That is one problem. Another problem is run and maintenance is very huge. And the cost is very huge when you compare with the cloud. So because of that reason, there are many projects are there with the Hadoop. They're migrating towards to the cloud platforms. So if they wanted to redesign, then we can suggest to go with the Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks. So in these cases, there is a more and more chances to use PaaS services only. All the ETL projects, keep in mind, all ETL projects is going to move towards to the Azure Data Factory or cloud platform. Now, I have a Hadoop project, but I'm not interested to go with redesign. I'm not interested to go with the redesign. I wanted to move my services as it is. I wanted to move services. I wanted to move my services as it is without doing any changes. I'm just taking an example, same Hadoop only. If I wanted to move the services as it is without doing any changes into the cloud platform, we have to use IaaS platform. Infrastructure as a services, you have to take it. Lift and shift. So lift and shift, you are going to do it. So that means you are taking only virtual machines. You're taking only infrastructure. So if you take only infrastructure, what happens is, let me say infra only. You're taking only infrastructure. If you have an infrastructure, that means you're taking only virtual machine. Inside virtual machine, whatever the OS you require, that you can keep it. Whatever the softwares you require, that you can take it. So networking control, you're going to take care about. Security control, you're going to take care about it. So everything will be taken care by yourself. Only thing is the systems are provided by Microsoft. Only the systems. So storage will be provided by Microsoft and processor is provided by Microsoft only. Rest of everything is your stuff. Now, if I wanted to lift and shift my entire Hadoop project into the cloud, I can lift and shift it. But when you go for lift and shift this kind of project, the cost will be more for this when you compare with this. Okay, so I feel, okay, so based on my understanding, I feel that, but instead of that, if we can redesign, the cost will be reduced like anything. So redesign is important because if we bring the same to same as it is here, the cluster has to run 24/7. 24/7, you have to run it. If it is your own cluster, it's a one-time investment. But when it comes to here, this cluster has to run 24/7, and your infrastructure is not your infrastructure. So because of that reason, I feel this kind of solution is bad solution. Okay, so if that is the case, you can just directly migrate, I mean to say redesign it. I'm just taking an example how to, but if you take any project that if you wanted to lift and shift, like I have a Oracle database. I wanted to lift and shift my entire Oracle database as it is. Then you need to have a virtual machine, and virtual machine should have a Oracle. Virtual machine should be installed with the Oracle system, Oracle software. Then only we can dump our Oracle databases directly into the cloud platform. Okay, so Hadoop perspective, the cost will be more, but others is not going to have that much cost. Okay, so this is about the varieties of the services, or they categorize the services into three flavors. One is software as a services, platform as a services, and infrastructure as a services. So they're going to provide the infrastructure and everything will be managed by yourself. Okay, so we have a cloud vendors, as I said, we have a Microsoft Azure is one of the cloud vendor, and AWS, Amazon Web Services, GCP, Google Cloud Platform, IBM Cloud. These are all the cloud providers. Okay. So briefly about it, like what services we're having, I'm just walk you through the basics of the cloud computing. And tomorrow I'm going to talk specific to Microsoft Azure. Okay, so how we can set up an account with the Microsoft Azure, and later that my sessions are going to follow in this order. As I said, the problems of your data is your big data. You're not in a position to store your big data. So that means storage we need to talk. And once the storage is completed, then I'm going to talk about processing. So what services are there for storage and what services are there for processing, that we are going to start talking about it. Okay, so in the storage, in the processing only, you're going to get this Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks. When I say Azure Databricks, keep in mind there is a Spark. Okay, so the Databricks I'm going to take with the PySpark. PySpark style of the code that we are going to write. I mean, the Python code will be used as part of the Spark. Okay, so we are going to talk more in detail. We are just in the beginning of the sessions. So I'm stopping here. For a few days, there will be a slight delay in the starting of the session. But once the batch is frozen, then I'm going to start at exactly 7 and ends at 8 o'clock. Okay, any question, guys, before stopping? I hope everyone can access the content of the course. Okay, so I clearly categorize the course content. You can go through that. And if you have any doubt, you can ping me to this number, and this number with me only. Any question before stopping? Okay, then if you're not having any question, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for joining.